When I was a teensy little boy, I was raised by being plonked in front of the TV watching shows such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog. I was actually raised a lot better than that, but it got me thinking, what would these characters look like on the big silver screen in a 90-minute long epic, running around their vast open worlds, along with a variety of personalities that I had come to grow in love with. And I am happy to say, 15 years later, I got what I want. Oh my god, is that Megan Fox? Alright. Let's take a step back and assess the situation here. It's clear that these adaptations were not made with fans of the franchise at their core, but were rather created to appeal to critics who haven't consumed a piece of the IP since they were like 6. These adaptations stray pretty far from what fans are generally comfortable with.
Go Goomba! Join the Goombas!
And although a lot of them are enjoyable, serviceable experiences, they often lose what made people fans of these franchises to begin with. So let's discuss. Which approach is more effective? Adaptations for critics or for fans? There are so many crappy film adaptations of fan-favourite IPs, so to save me the headache, I will only be discussing my favourite, or least favourites. I'll be discussing the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film by Paramount, and the 2020 adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog by Paramount, as well as the very recently released Super Mario Bros. Movie.
It's me, Amari.
Because, just like you, I was shocked about how much that film got right. Alright, I'll confess, I'm not a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not that I dislike it, it's just I never got into it as much as other people. But hold your comically large tomatoes from your pockets. I did go to see both live-action adaptations of the films when they came out in cinemas. And I can't lie, I liked them. I was also like 12! But on rewatch, knowing a little bit more about the franchise, I did not enjoy these films. If you like this film, good for you, but it really wasn't for me. My biggest problem with this adaptation was the alien Shrek-like redesigns for the Turtles. They tap into that uncanny valley phenomenon. Throughout both films, they did grow on me, but that doesn't detract from the fact that I can feel Mikey's breath on my neck. I guess you could argue that these redesigns are not supposed to be visually appealing. I mean, they are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that live in the sewers of New York. But they're just uncomfortable to look at. They were when I was 12, and they are now. I mean, you could chalk this up to the fact that these are live-action adaptations of these characters. Therefore, they need to abide by the laws of realism and natural biology. But nothing about this is natural! This goes for both the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film and the Sonic the Hedgehog films. I can't say for sure, but here's why I reckon that Paramount chose for a live-action adaptation rather than fully animated CGI. A, they wanted to impress critics with their hyper-realistic CGI hybrid, so that with every movement we see the shine on the turtle's back. Also, Michael Bay probably just wanted an excuse to blow things up. And B, because it's easier for general audiences to suspend their disbelief if the character is set in the real world. To most audiences, a fully animated film could sometimes be seen as childish or illegitimate, in comparison to a live-action epic filled with explosions and Megan Fox. Speaking of uncomfortable, Mikey makes a lot of jokes within this film that I don't want to know what they imply. Just here, take a listen.
Oh, she's so hot I can feel my shell tightening.
We can hear you.
So guys, if it wasn't already obvious with that girl, dibs.
Overall, these films are fine. But as mentioned earlier, they just lose so much of what made this IP so great to begin with. But hey, that fight scene with Shredder on top of the roof? it's still pretty kick-ass.
Also, quickly, oh wait, my camera's the wrong way. Dear God, look at that timeline. Okay, so just a little editor's note, I had no clue this film had a theme song. By Wiz Khalifa, no less. Honestly, it's pretty good. Still kind of an air film, though. Alright, onto the Sonic bit now, because I know that's what you've been waiting for.
If you've watched any of my content before, which I hope you have, it's no secret that I love this little blue rat. I grew up on this character, pouring countless hours and hours into every aspect of this franchise. From Sonic's design to the music of the games and the world that he inhabits, everything about this franchise had me absolutely hooked. Now, you could partially blame the autism. Actually, you could fully blame the autism, but alas. So hearing that a cinematic adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog was coming from the greats at Hollywood, I was pretty excited. I am ready for a 90-minute long epic adventure of this. Listen, I won't retell you the story about how Sonic was redesigned, because, let's be real here, your face also shriveled when you laid eyes upon this monstrosity. But, oh man, how do you drop the ball this badly? Nothing about this is even remotely what people love about Sonic. And whilst a year later, yeah, the character was redesigned, there were still some glaring issues with the film that we were given. Because this is an origin story for the character, we get to see very little iconic iconography. We get 2 minutes of Green Hill, rings. That's it! But due to the live-action nature of this adaptation, the film essentially had to be an origin story. Otherwise, anyone that isn't already a fan of the character would just be completely lost. If Sonic isn't established as an alien-like being from another planet, then general audiences will start to question his very existence. Which isn't a problem that people tend to have when playing games such as Sonic Adventure or Sonic Unleashed. Both are pieces of media that have Sonic set in a somewhat realistic representation of modern Earth. Also, quickly, another problem that people had with this film was the characterization of Sonic the Hedgehog being a little bit different to what we're generally used to. He's almost too childlike, as if he's a few years younger than the already established character that we find in the games.
Okay, I promise this is the last time I'm doing this, but I have another editor's note. So in the original script for this video, I was a lot more passive and tame against this argument, but it's a pretty fucking stupid argument. Yeah, Sonic is a little bit more childlike in this film than what he is in the games, but it's a children's movie. What did you expect? It's clear that he's been positioned as a younger character to appeal to younger audiences, a more general, childlike audience. I mean, it's the same reason that in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, we have the Turtles being younger interpretations. Because it's supposed to appeal to a younger demographic. And the younger a demographic is, generally the wider it is. And for a film, you want the widest demographic you can get. I don't know. I don't know, but that's what I wanted to say on that. Thanks for watching my video, guys.
So what's the final verdict on Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, honestly, I still think it's a very good film at its core. It's still an enjoyable romp for Sonic fans. But with that being said, there was definitely potential there for something to be infinitely better.
This one is from my one and only true love, Princess Peach. Peach, you're so cool. And with my star, we're gonna...
If you've clicked on this video, then you've probably already seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I mean, this film has made ridiculous amounts of money. But that also means that you already know how faithful of an adaptation this is. Everything here is chock full to the brim with Easter eggs and references. So as we hop into the movie, very little is explained to us. But that's okay. There's no explanation as to why objects can float and others can't. And there's no explanation for why every single enemy needs to exist. They just do. The film assumes that you already know this. This is what you call a film made for fans first, critics second. And oh man, this film did not sit right with critics. Currently sitting at a pretty putrid 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, the Super Mario Bros. Movie has been endlessly critiqued for its paper-thin plot and character development. Being called a deranged mishmash of overstimulating elements. So, with all of that being said, what differentiates a film that's made for critics versus a film that's made for fans? And ultimately, which one is better? I know this isn't the answer that you're going to be looking for, but I really do believe that it's subjective. There's enjoyment to be found in both, it just depends what kind of person you are. As a superfan of both Mario and Sonic, I can say with confidence that I much preferred the adaptation that Super Mario brings, because my time isn't wasted by the exposition of concepts that I'm already familiar with, and I'm not introduced to characters that I'm unaware of that stick around for the entirety of the movie. I'm met with much more recognisable iconography and even the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the Super Mario Bros. Movie is miles better than the soundtrack that the Sonic films bring. And that's not to say they're bad in any way, they're just not particularly faithful. I mean, would it really kill them to put in a little bit more effort into translating some of the melodies and leitmotifs from the Sonic the Hedgehog games into the movie? Just like how Super Mario does it. But at the same time, I think it's important to note that the TMNT and Sonic films are much more structurally sound films. Mario at its core is paper thin. Mario traverses from world to world to save a damsel in distress. Rinse and repeat that for 40 years and bada bing, bada boom, you have a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Anywho, congrats for making it to the end of the video. What did you think? Did you agree or disagree with what I had to say? If you disagree, I'm always up for discussion and debate. These videos take a good amount of time to make, and honestly, I'm lightheaded from all the shouting. But I'm aiming to make at least one video a month, so stick around if that's what you enjoy. And with that, I'll leave you. Alright, bye for now.